Alright guys, how you doing? So, stop me if you've heard of any of these things before. Lucky Go, Lucky Scratch, Lucky Gold, Lucky Win, Lucky Lotto, etc. These are all ostensibly free apps that exist on the Google and Apple marketplaces, wherein you can supposedly for free win these games of chance, right? I started getting advertisements for these things probably about a year ago, and I never really thought too much about it, right? Uh, I just kind of thought, wow, this is a really obvious scam. Obviously, very few people would fall for this, but they probably throw it out there because there are always people out there who will fall into even the most obvious of scams, right? The most ridiculous Nigerian prince email scams that we've all heard of before. Somebody falls for them, right? People do these things because somebody falls for them. And I kind of thought that this was the same thing. Then a couple of hours ago, I got yet another ad specifically for one of these apps called Lucky Go. And it really got me to thinking, right? How, if these are scams, as they so obviously seem to be, can they continue to exist on the Apple and Google Play stores for such a long period of time without these reputable companies doing anything to shut them down? So, just kind of to assuage my own curiosity, I went ahead and clicked on over to the Lucky Go site on the Google Play Store and went to go check the rating, figuring I would see something along the lines of, a high 1 star, low 2 star rating, and a whole bunch of comments about how this was a scam. But when I got there, what I was actually confronted with is a lot of very positive ratings and a 4.6 star overall rating. Now, there are a lot of ways that apps can kind of fudge and manipulate this by, for example, in a situation like this where they're kind of fishing for very gullible people trying to win a free come up. They could post something on there that says, oh, you win 10 extra lottery tickets or whatever for going on here and giving us a 5 star rating. And a lot of people will do that. And a lot of times, even if they end up quitting the app, realizing that it's BS and it's not going to pay them out, they won't ever bother to go back and change that rating. And therefore, they get like an artificially boosted rating. A lot of apps and games do something similar to this, again, to artificially boost their ratings up on the App Store and on the Google Play Store. Nevertheless, I went ahead and started reading all of the comments and, like the user reviews down there on the page. And I saw a lot of people defending this app, saying, I'm legitimately winning money. It takes a long time, and you have to get $10 to pay out. But I am legitimately winning money. It'll just take you a little while. The one that stuck in my mind that was towards the top of the list was a girl saying, "Oh, I've been playing for 4 days, and I have won a total of like $5.75 or something like that." And she seemed very certain that she was going to get to this payout, right? So at this point, I figured to myself, well, I have enough like throwaway accounts and throwaway emails and things like that that I could sign up for this and check the app out. And best case scenario, this is a real thing, and I'll go win myself $10, and it'll be an interesting story. Worst case scenario, it'll make an interesting YouTube video. So I have decided to do exactly that. This is going to be a two-part video because I'm going to lay out right now my thoughts on the website or the app and what I think the prerequisites for me to stop and say, okay, this is a real thing, this is not a scam, would be where I think that the hangups are going to be, like what I think the actual scam is. And then I'm going to report back to you in a couple of weeks once I've done my due diligence and found out whether or not these things actually work. So first off, let's talk about how the app works. And I'll be showing some footage from actual gameplay, if you want to call it that, on the screen as I explain all this. So what you have here is a series of different games of chance. And to participate in these games of chance, you have to watch ads, right? You're continuously watching ads. It's essentially the business model of YouTube, only take away the videos, right? It's just the ads, just constantly ads. Now look, I have been a part of the YouTube Partner Program in the past, and I do have a general idea of how much you can get paid per ad or per 1,000 ads, right? Because it's generally done by CPM. There's also a CTR, which is a click-through rate. There's a lot of things I have to do here. But I have a general idea of how much you can make, which is usually somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe a couple of dollars, maybe maximum $5 per 1,000 ads that a person screens, right? So here's the thing. I do acknowledge right off the bat that if the payouts were extremely low and extremely infrequent, this could actually be a tenable business model without being a scam. It is possible that you could show enough advertisements to enough people that the advertiser revenue that you would be making would exceed the payouts that you're giving these people through these games of chance, right? However, it would be a very, very, I think, low profit margin in the long run. It would have to be an incredibly small payout. Furthermore, there are a couple of other things that make me kind of incredulous about the legitimacy of this. First and foremost, I don't understand how it would be legal. Gambling laws vary from area to area. Now, I think in a lot of places you would get around that by the fact that people aren't actually putting their own money into this. Therefore, it would kind of qualify as like a sweepstakes or a raffle or something like that. But invariably, I think that at least in the United States, this would be illegal in all 50 states to advertise or allow minors to participate in. And there was no point along the way of me signing up for this program where it did anything to verify my age, right? Now, of course, to get your payout, right, your supposed payout when you have $10 or more, you do need some sort of legitimate PayPal account or something like that, which I guess does require you to be of age, but there are certainly a lot of gray areas and loopholes and ways around that, and I can't see that without any efficient way of verifying people's age that this could possibly be legal, at least in developed countries like the United States. There's such a high probability that there are probably numerous minors using this site. So here's the thing. Here are where I think the hangups are. First off, I truly do not think that the outcomes of these games are RNG based. I do not think they are random. I think the game is deciding whether or not to pay you out. Now, there might be some sort of algorithm to this that would still not prevent it from being legitimate. It could be done based on, when we exceed this threshold of ads viewed, we can pay out this many prizes or what have you. Some sort of system in place to keep the app from accidentally, just by chance, paying out a lot more money than it happens to have made. And because of that, I suspect my first major hang-up, right, is that I do not think, no matter how many little bits and pieces of money that it gives me along the way, I do not think it will allow me to pass the threshold of $10. I think that if I were to chip away at it little by little, I would never, like, even if I somehow reached $9.75, I simply think that the system just would not ever allow me to win any of the games again, so that I never reached the point where they had to pay out. The second possibility that I foresee is that they just simply do not pay out, right? That at some point I will cross the threshold, I will reach over $10 in winnings, and they just simply won't pay out. Maybe they'll beat around the bush or make it look like some sort of error or complication or something like that. But I do not think that I will ever legitimately receive a payout for that money if I do somehow reach that $10 threshold. But if I can reach that $10 threshold, and if I can get the app to pay out, regardless of the amount of effort that I have to put into it, even if it's something that's totally just not even cost effective, even if I put 10 hours into this and only get a payout of $10 or, you know, what have you, I would have to acknowledge that if they do pay that out, if I can get that money into a PayPal account or some other form of account that is under my control, that I will have to legitimately say that these apps are not a scam, right? So those are the parameters of the experiment. Now, here's what I'm going to do. For the next week or so, I am going to put a couple of hours a day, time allowing, into playing the games on this app, right? With the final goal of seeing if I can reach that $10 threshold and if I can get the app to pay out. And at the end of that, I will report back here to you and tell you what I have found. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification and all of that. So if you're interested in the results here, you can come back and see those when I'm done. Don't forget to hit the like button if you find this an interesting premise. And leave a comment if you've had any experience with games like this. I'm really kind of curious to see what people have to say about things like this outside the realm of the apps, Google Play and Apple Pages, where they don't have any control or ability to curate it. Like, I'm interested to hear if people have any sort of experience with these things out here on YouTube. Have a great night, guys. I'll see you in the next video, and peace.